The Smith & Wesson Performance Center Bodyguard 2.0, let's check it out. Smith & Wesson introduced their Bodyguard 2.0. It was a huge upgrade over the original Bodyguard. It's in 380 ACP, it's 10+1 or 12+1 with a magazine extension. This is an incredibly tiny handgun, and yet it has a good round capacity. And this has been one of my major concealed carries, especially for light carry, summer carry. It's just so tiny, half the time I don't even know I have it on. And now they've introduced their Performance Center model. This has some upgrades to it, including the carry comp, which gives it a compensated barrel and slide. The slide serrations have been improved, and it still has that really tiny feel to it. And this is just an excellent concealed carry, and it actually makes it shoot flatter, less recoil, less felt recoil, which with the 380 ACP, it's not that bad, but this really allows you to get on target really fast. Of course, the Smith & Wesson Performance Center always does a great job. Now, big thank you to Smith & Wesson for sending the Bodyguard 2.0, and in full disclosure, they're gonna let me keep this one, and I will be carrying it. All right, guys, we have the Performance Center Bodyguard 2.0, and this has what they call their comp carry. So we have a compensated barrel that has a cut, and we have a compensated slide, and we have relief cuts on the side. So this is actually going to help with recoil. Also, they have increased the slide serrations. They've deepened them, made them more aggressive, and then here on the top, these are very nice serrations on the top. So one of the things about the Performance Center is they do some really nice upgrades, even over models that are really very appealing. And then here we have the original 2.0. And we're going to do some comparisons between the two. We're even going to shoot these side by side. But the 2.0 has been my concealed carry deep cover for a good while now. As soon as it came out, I've been carrying this. It is so lightweight, it is so small, and it's so easy to carry. But with the Performance Center, there's going to be some upgrades. Now, one of the things about a small handgun like this is that the controls are smaller, it's smaller in your hand, it's a little more difficult to manipulate. And so you need to keep that in mind. So one of the things that Smith & Wesson did was increase their slide serrations a little bit tighter on the front and the back, and you can see with the 2.0, and then of course the slide serrations do come up onto the slide on the top, but with the new one it does have the serrations that actually have some texturing, and plus it just really looks good. Now, one of the things about these is that when I first saw them in a brochure, I thought that looks like a shield. But here is your standard shield. It's in 9mm, and guys, it is a considerable difference between the two, especially the thickness. And so this is going to make it a very tiny little handgun. Now this has the mag extension on the bottom, which gives it a couple of extra rounds. But this was my wife's concealed carry, and then she moved up to the Plus. And the Plus was a double stack magazine over the single stack, and with very little increase in grip width. And so this makes a great, very small, deep concealed carry. While the Smith & Wesson Shield has been a great concealed carry, this gives you even a smaller option. Now, we are going to talk about the difference between 9mm and 380 ACP and give you some thoughts on what you should carry. I predominantly carry a 9mm, but when I want to go light, this is a perfect option. And honestly, because I'm around the shop a lot and around the house, I carry this often. But again, with the Performance Center, you're getting that a little bit less recoil. Now, with the original, it has light recoil. It's a very nice gun to shoot. We'll talk about this, especially with the grip length. It gives you a lot of grip. And so in your hand, and a lot of times with these smaller handguns, they have a very short grip where you're only able to get a couple of fingers around it. And so this gives you just a little more options. Now it has a 10-round magazine, has that Armonite finish, so it makes it really slick, and it's double stacked. Check the chamber, and the gun's empty. But it does come with a 12-round magazine as well, and that gives you 2 additional rounds. It does hang off just a touch off the end of the grip, but man, it just gives you a full grip. And so for shooting and going to the range, I like that 12-round grip. But for carry, I like the small flush fit. And the reason why is because this is the hardest part to conceal, not necessarily the length of the barrel. So this can be used and carried, and then I can have the 12-rounder in my back pocket, and then I have 12 rounds. And guys, for a small little pocket pistol, that is a nice round capacity. And the original 2.0 came with that as well. Now they have a tritium sight on the front, it's an Ameriglow, and then we have a black outline sight at the back, and it's serrated. And it really gives you a really nice sight picture. With the original, it was an orange circle, and honestly, the dovetail is a little different. It's a little bit wider on the new model. And then we had the black outline, which is a little larger on the new model. So this gives you just a little bit of a sight picture. Now this will continue to be a standard pistol. The Performance Center is really just an upgrade. And honestly, with the 2.0, there's a multitude of different color combinations, and so this gives you a lot of options. Now the texturing on the grip is pretty much the same. In fact, the lower part of the handgun is just your 2.0. And the texturing is really nice here on the back strap, and you can see how it comes around, and then the front strap. In the center right here, it is textured, but it's lightly textured. But again, from here all the way down, it's just a nice grip. And then you have that beaver tail, which allows you to just kind of mitigate some of the recoil as well. Plus, it's an incredibly low bore axis. Now, why is bore axis important? If you have that slide coming over, it's a mass that comes over your hand, and that's what recoils the handgun. But if you consider holding it down here and firing it, you can see that you're going to have a lot more recoil. So the closer you get up to the slide, the more you're going to be able to manage that recoil. Now we do have some memory pads here on the side, and I can take my trigger finger, put it right here. When I'm doing that thumbs forward grip, I just rest it right there and not against the slide. And so it just gives you a memory pad. There's no ledge there for recoil management, but in fact this will kind of slip off as you're shooting, but definitely it gives you something to grip to. And guys, again, this thing is incredibly thin, and yet it shoots extremely well. We have our slide stop here, which it'll hold open on the last round, and we have our takedown lever here, and we have our mag release. Mag release drops those mags easily out the bottom, and you can take this and switch it to the other side. And you can see it's just a small screw, and that way for left-handed shooters, you're good to go. Now the slide is an Armonite finish over stainless steel, so it's going to be very corrosion resistant. One thing on this box, sometimes it'll pick up a little bit of the wood, and so you may see a little bit. That is not rust, it is from the box. Also, sometimes when I put this in a leather holster, which I typically like, there'll be a little bit left on here. But really, overall, this is a very weather-resistant firearm. And if you're carrying it every day, you're going to need to have that. One thing about it, too, is that a lot of times you get dust and lint, a lot of other things get into the action. So make sure, especially with these smaller ones, they're more susceptible to malfunctions with lint and different particles that get in there. So you're going to need to really keep this maintained a little more than you would a larger handgun. But it's important to keep these maintained if it's your concealed carry anyway. Now we do have a flat face trigger, and it does have a trigger shoe. With the original, they do have frame safeties that you can have, external frame safeties. This also has a firing pin block safety, so it is drop safe. But with the trigger action, you've got to depress that little lever, and that's what releases it. And you can see also that it has a small little trigger stop, and that helps also with accuracy. So as we bring it back, we hit a wall, and it is that flat face trigger. And then a nice break. It's not super crisp, but it's a definite break. and you can see that it definitely stops. Reset right about there. All right, let's check out our trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 3 pounds, 15.5 ounces. 3 pounds, 11.5 ounces. So under 4 pounds, which makes it very nice. One thing about this with a very small handgun, if you have a heavy trigger pull and you're putting pressure on it, and sometimes you can misalign your aim. And so this really allows you to get a very good trigger pull, trigger squeeze when you're firing. But I'm going to tell you what, guys, that Armornite finish is beautiful. It is some sort of black nitride finish, but Smith & Wesson puts a beautiful finish on their semi-automatic pistols. Now again, with the ported barrel, it is their carry comp models, and they call this their power port. And so it just slides to the top of the barrel. It's just a nice slit, and it comes, gases come out, and also if any are on the side, they come out these side ports. This keeps the gun not only flatter, because the gases are shooting up, so it's keeping the muzzle more down, but also there's less felt recoil in your hand. And we're going to test this side by side with the original 2.0. Now, one major contender with the Bodyguard 2.0 is the Ruger LCP Max. This is one that I have carried considerably because of its size. And it does have the 10+1 in the magazine, and we have an empty chamber, but it also comes with a 12-round extension. And these are very comparable in size. The Ruger's a little bit thicker, but it's shorter. And I'll tell you, I really love this little handgun. But let me tell you why I switched to the 2.0. First off is you can see the grip. Look at the slide. You have this larger area of the frame that really keeps you from getting that bore axis as low as you do on the Smith & Wesson. Plus, it keeps you from getting a full-length grip. And so with the Smith, you're just going to get a little more grip and a lower bore axis. While I love this handgun, and I still, because I just carried it for so long, I still carry this. As far as shooting, the Smith & Wesson actually shoots a little flatter. But the LCP Max is an excellent handgun. There's no accessory rail on the front. This is meant to be a very minimal carry. You're not red dot ready. This is a point and shoot, up close and personal self-defense option. Now, as far as 9mm compared to 380 ACP, what are the advantages? Why would you carry one over the other? First off is the 380 ACP is going about 900 to 1100 feet per second. With the 9mm, it's 1100 to 1300 feet per second. And when it comes to the muzzle energy, and then we have 200 to 267 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. With the 9mm, we have 350 to 400 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. With the bullet weight, we have 85 to 100 grains on the 380. 9mm, we have 115 to 147 grain. So you have a heavier bullet, moving faster, and it gives you more velocity. So this is definitely going to be a better self-defense option. But when it comes to the 380 ACP, you have a smaller handgun typically, so it's easier to carry. You also have less recoil, so you can get those follow-up shots even more on target. When it comes to ammo availability, 9mm is the king. The 9mm is everywhere, and there's a ton of different options. With 380 ACP, you're not going to have as many options, and honestly, with their full metal jacket, it's going to be more expensive. But when it comes to self-defense ammo, it typically runs about the same price. Now, while there's a ton of self-defense choices out there, Masad Ayub said that this type bullet for 380 is the most effective, and he is one of the leading experts in self-defense cases. With your 9mm, a jacketed hollow point is going to be your best bet. Plus, there are plus Ps, and there's a lot of variation. So the numbers that I'm giving you are an average, but there are a lot of different ammo choices out there and different bullet shapes. So this is just an average. So to wrap it up, the 9mm is more effective, but it has more recoil. While the 380 ACP is typically smaller and it's lighter recoil. And it's still an effective self-defense round, but your 9mm is going to perform a little better. All right, guys, big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo, all made in the USA. One of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. Also, a big thanks to Lula Loaders for providing up Lulas. Guys, these will load double stack mags. I mean, a lot of different ones, even these small little 380s, and even 1911 mags. Upload is with us at every range trip, unless I forget. All right, guys, we have the Smith & Wesson. This is the Bodyguard 2.0. It is the Performance Center model. And again, it has that ported barrel. Tiny bit longer than the original. I've been carrying the 2.0 Bodyguard for a while now. It's so tiny, great for summer carry. And we're going to compare this together side by side just to see the recoil difference. But man, Performance Center does a great job. Of course, we have our Slide Serrations. It's a small gun, so the Slide Serrations actually are very grippable. I love the sights. That front sight just glows, and of course it is a tritium sight. What I really love though is how long this grip is. It really allows you to get up high onto the frame and right under the slide. It has an incredibly low bore axis. You've got your 12 round magazine, your 10 round magazine. And trigger is well done. It's a flat face trigger. Now, we have had some issues where it didn't hold the slide back on the last round, at least with these new magazines. And the new magazines can be a little tough at first to load, but then it starts to work its way in. But guys, it's a tiny firearm, and the controls are small. So you need to really get used to that. But Smith has put this together to where actually it functions really well. Hardly any recoil, and with that small little port, it actually helps just to drive that down. Now, the original is very soft to shoot, so it does give you a little bit of an advantage. But overall, I mean, this is an excellent concealed carry gun, especially for your summer carry, light carry. Yeah, it's 380 ACP, and for more serious things, I'd really rather have a 9. But there are times where if you really can't carry anything larger or you want something really deep cover, this makes a great option. Telling you guys, you get a hold of one of these, you're going to want one. And guys, this is the original Bodyguard 2.0, and we're going to compare it side by side with the Performance Center. It's so soft to shoot. You know, it's funny, I don't know how much this is really going to matter because that is such an easy shooting, very easy recoiling handgun. But here we have the Performance Center. Didn't hold the slide back. This is one of the new magazines. I think right at first till they break in. But definitely a difference. It pushes the front down and it's less felt recoil in my hand. Really, as far as a lot of difference, that is the biggest difference, is I feel less recoil in my hand because they're already soft to shoot. So I'm telling you guys, Smith & Wesson has really done a great job with these. And to be honest with you, the slide difference is like 1/4 of an inch or so. I mean, it is really small. All right, as far as disassembly, we're going to drop our magazine, check the chamber, the gun's empty. So first thing is to bring your slide into slide lock, drop your takedown lever, and then we're going to release our slide, pull the trigger, and it comes right off. Here we have a dual captive recoil spring and guide rod, and then we have our barrel. Now again, the barrel is 3.1 inches in length, and we have that port. And again, this is going to be very effective. And really, that beautiful Armonite finish looks great on this barrel. Then we have the frame, which is your striker fire frame, and very lightweight. With the slide, very well done, no tooling marks. Of course, Smith & Wesson does an incredible job. Here is your firing pin block, and so that has to be depressed. So this cannot go off unless this is depressed. So that's going to make it drop safe. So very easy to disassemble. For reassembly, bring in your barrel, When you bring in your recoil spring and guide rod, you want to bring it in straight and then depress it and then get it on that ledge. And now we're going to bring it back over our slide, our frame, drop in your takedown lever, drop it, put your magazine in, test for function, and we're back in business. Now, keeping your firearms maintained and cleaned is vital. Otis makes some of the best cleaning equipment out there. They make a number of different kits that are dedicated for different rifles, pistols. They also have Shooter's Choice, which makes excellent CLP and bore solvent and different cleaning materials. The Ripcord is one of their signatures, and there's a whole system based around it. They are suppliers to the U.S. military. So check out Otis Technologies, highly recommended, and we want to thank Otis for being a sponsor of the channel. Now, the MSRP on the original Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 is $437, and of course market price is less. With the Performance Center model, we don't have a price yet. These have just been released, so they're going to be a little more than the original. How much more, I don't know, but again, as they start to enter the market price will come down. When these first come out, they pretty much sell for retail. You can get these with the thumb safety. They do have models. In fact, they have a number of different color frames, slides. They even have a stainless steel slide. There's so many different choices. With the Performance Center, it's a little more tighter. They typically stick with the black, but they do offer a external safety model typically. So what are some pros and cons? First off, with the comp carry model, this is just going to help with recoil management. It's going to keep the recoil down, it's going to keep your slide lower, and you're going to be able to stay on target a little better. Then you have the serrations on the top, improved serrations on the front and back that are just going to make it easier to manipulate. Also, the sights, I really like this yellow-green sight on the front. It's very easy to see, even over the original Bodyguard. And then it is tritium. And of course, these are dovetailed in so they can be switched out, and that black sight really looks nice with the serrations. It gives you a nice sight picture. The bore axis is incredibly low, and that's a big plus. It's going to make this very easy to shoot, which it is, and the original 2.0 was also very easy to shoot. Nice trigger, has a very positive break. It's not super crisp, but for a polymer striker fire pistol, it is a nice trigger, and it's a flat face trigger. It has solid texturing on the back and front strap, and again, you have your memory pads. Then it's just a lightly textured here, but with this small handgun, it really locks into your hand. I'm telling you guys, these are very easy to shoot, and I've been carrying that 2.0 ever since it came out. And to be honest with you, this is an excellent firearm. Would I say to upgrade? Maybe. One thing about having these extra slide serrations is that because it is a smaller firearm, it makes it a little easier to manipulate with the extras. Because being tiny, you know, there's a small grip, small slide, you're kind of pinching your fingers. But really, even those with weaker hand strength should be able to bring this back without too much trouble. And with the recoil, it makes it very soft to shoot. What are some cons? One con, I would say, is loading the magazines. This is a 12-round magazine, and by the time you get down to about 10, you're really having to push to get those last few rounds in. At the range, I would highly recommend a Lula loader because it really makes it easy to load these. And to be honest, after shooting this a little bit, this magazine spring will loosen up just a touch to where it'll be able to load it. But that is one thing. Also, when you're entering your magazine, if you have a slam full magazine and you push it up, you've got to really mean to wrap it. And if you have your slide open, it goes in much easier. But to be honest with you, other than that, this is, to me, one of the best concealed carry micro 380s that's on the market. So guys, if you want a really tiny concealed carry with a really high round capacity for this size, I mean 10 rounds, 12 rounds, and yet it's very shootable with that longer grip, and then with the carry comp and those extra slide serrations, it just makes it easier to manipulate, and it keeps the recoil down and that muzzle down. An excellent deep carry or light carry option. And again, it's one that I've had quite a bit of experience with already. This thing is so lightweight and easy to carry. I just have to remember that I have it on. And again, a big thank you to Smith & Wesson for providing the Performance Center Bodyguard 2.0 for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Smith & Wesson for percending. Tritium sight, it has an orange green, doing that thumbs. Okay, what have we got? Looks like we got some heat going, yeah. Heat going. And some different choices out there. But as far as, crap. Be a little more, okay, crap. Guys, this is from the box. It is not rust. I'm gonna show you because I'm gonna take some of it off. A bigger upgrade over the original model. Over the original model. It's an original model.